your sense of identity is tied to what you do for everyone else.
It's who I am.
What would happen if who you are changed?
It just feels so selfish. Are we not always responsible for each other just to help each other along?
I think not, because it's respecting ourselves as well as respecting other people.
This is In Therapy with Alex Howard, a first of its kind series that places you directly in the therapy room. My name is Alex Howard, and it is my hope that by bringing you on the journey with us, you too can learn the tools to transform your life. This series, we're following Hayley, whose traumatic upbringing has resulted in severe depression and anxiety, as well as debilitating obsessive compulsive disorder. Hayley has come to In Therapy because she's decided enough is enough and wants to live the rest of her life free from the constraints of the past.
You're a gutsy person, and if I didn't see it, I wouldn't say it.
Nobody ever said that before. I think I was stupid, but thank you for saying I was gutsy.
What I think ultimately isn't important. What's important is what you think. And our job together is to help you see yourself as objectively and as accurately as possible.
Join us each week as we follow every step of Hayley's journey, both in and outside of the therapy room. As well as the tools I give Hayley in the sessions, I'll also be sharing weekly top tips so you can begin to unlock your true potential. This is In Therapy. As Hayley lives up in the north of England, she and her husband travel down with their caravan each week for her sessions. My producers, Oliver and Jeremiah, are visiting Hayley to find out how she's been getting on after her second session.
Hello, look what I found. Should we just chat through here?
Yeah, you can do that. I've just had a squirrel drop through the skylight.
Does he want an interview?
He does. Honestly, seriously, there's loads of foxes as well, so it's really nice here.
All right, okay. Can we come in?
Yeah,
nice. Oh, it's nice.
There's like bunk beds there and everything as well, so I know it's old, but we like it.
So we can stay the night then? Good.
Absolutely, you can.
Just a
Is
water.
that okay? Are you sure? We've got a lollipop. At the moment, I'm a bit overwhelmed, bewildered and confused, and it's kind of dropping in, but it takes so long to drop in with me, and at the moment I feel like I'm spinning around in a washing machine, and every time I get a thought I'm thinking, what do we do with this, and I guess in time it'll become second nature, but for now I'm at the stage where I was like, what's my name again? And it is that process, and to not panic in the middle of that, because if you've thought about life one way for so long and then suddenly somebody says, okay, now you've got to think about it this way, it would be more weird if I wasn't confused and just went, okay then.
Yeah.
I've got to...
Yeah, and just rolled over and been like, oh, okay, fine. One of the things we were talking about is sort of prioritising your own care.
Yeah.
Because I think historically it's always been something that you've looked at other people and don't even consider yourself in that equation.
Yeah.
I just kind of wondered how it was sort of hearing Alex talk about that a little bit and challenge that sort of mindset.
Yeah. It will mean I'm never happy, won't it? If my happiness is based on what everyone else does, it means I never find a sense of happiness or peace, because everything everyone else does chews me up all the time and it's out of my control. I can't see myself as a separate entity than, say, my parents, for example. I find that really difficult. I have a part of my OCD is this overinflated sense of responsibility for everyone, and it is part of my OCD, and I've had it so long. Even as a little kid, I was running around the house doing safety checks to keep my parents safe. So you're trying to break the link between well-established behaviours, and the neuroplasticity Alex talks about is going to take some rewiring in my mind.
It's the day of Hayley's third session with me. One of the reasons why therapy can be so demanding is we are challenging aspects of ourselves which we have taken as fact, sometimes for our entire life. But just because we have normalized to something, it doesn't make it healthy for us. And if Hayley is to live the rest of her life on her own terms and free from the prisons of her past, we need to challenge how she's learned to see herself and the world, and to forge a path to discover the real Hayley. Here's the session.
Yeah.
So it's, in a sense, your sense of identity, your sense of value as a human being, but also your ability to feel safe as a human being is tied to what you do for everyone else.
It's who I am. Yeah. I'm sorry, am I missing something?
No. I guess my question to you is, what would happen if who you are changed, or who you believe you are changed?
It just feels so selfish. It just feels really selfish.
Yeah. So there's a judgment that attending to your own needs would be selfish.
Yeah, and it just causes a load of hassle.
So it would cause a load of hassle. So it would be selfish, and it would cause a load of hassle. What else would happen?
Just those that I care about, their needs might be neglected, and they might think that I don't love them.
What would happen if they thought you don't love them?
Then they would be wrong. I do love them. I'm talking about my parents and stuff. I'm sorry, I feel like
No, I'm pushing against some things that have been set up for a long time. And what we're doing is, together, we're questioning things that were set up when you were very small, if that's the right way to have them set up many years later. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I am trying, honestly.
I know.
I'm trying. Sorry, I don't want you to think that I'm not trying and that I don't respect what you're saying. I am trying. It's just trying to get my head around stuff. So it would upset me if you thought that I wasn't trying and I was
understand
being arsey.
But I don't think you're being arsey. I think this is a really good example, though, of I'm responsible for my feelings and you're responsible for your feelings. And what I notice happens is that you're, in a sense, if we imagine it like a line from feeling completely responsible for everything to feeling responsible for nothing, right? And there are people that never take responsibility, and there are people who do whatever they want whenever they want with no sense of responsibility for anyone or anything.
Yeah.
And at the other end of the extreme is feeling responsible for everyone and everything.
Yeah.
At the moment, you're a long way towards that.
Yeah.
But there's also wherever anyone is on that continuum, if it's at an extreme, there is a price that we pay for that.
Yes.
And as you have spoken to in the last couple of times that we've met, the price that you paid at 39 was to have effectively a heart attack. Because what you recognize is the enormous stress that comes from feeling responsible for actually a lot of things that are not really under your control. Like, you can feel in control of what you say or what you do in any moment, but you don't actually know how that impacts someone else, or how that makes them feel, or how that doesn't make them feel. So I'm curious as to whether you recognize how much of a burden that still places upon you to be so far down that line to a point of imbalance because of the impact that it has. Does that something that makes sense to you?
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Absolutely get it. 100%.
So what needs to happen to be able to come back more to a place of balance? And we're not talking about swinging the other way. We're not talking about you sort of, leaving here and sort of not giving a shit about anyone or anything and getting on the underground and effing and blinding at everyone. And so, it's like, of course, that there's a point of still being sensitive to and being respectful and caring to others. But I'm wondering what needs to happen for you to be able to come more to a place of balance.
Yeah. Whenever I've set some boundaries and held my own, it's blown up. And so it makes it not worth it.
So the fear is that if you were to move along that line, that others would try to move you back.
Yeah. If I've tried to stand up for something that I'm right to stand up for, it's always gone poof, But
and is that with certain specific people in your life, or has that been in many different experiences?
Different things, really, different experiences, trivial and major. And when I do it, it's the discomfort I feel as well for holding my own. I feel so much guilt. It was like, that was never worth it. It was never worth it, But yeah, I totally agree with you. If we swapped seats and I was talking to you, I'd done a tiny little bit of reading about counselling and stuff, and I'd be saying the same to you. So I agree.
Well, I think part of the challenge that you have is that we teach people how to treat us. So when we have poorly formed boundaries, or when we make ourselves responsible for things in other people's lives, we set those relationships up in a certain way. And it's a little bit like a dance, right? We're dancing together and everyone's sort of familiar with the dance. And then you change the dance, and that person really has one of three choices. They're either going to pull you back to the old dance because that's what's familiar and that's what they know, or they're going to come with you and they're going to follow the new dance, or you're going to have to dance separately. And I think what's happened sometimes in the past, by the sounds of it, is you've tried to change the nature of the dance and you've got pulled back into the old way of doing things. The challenge is that, of course, you're here partly because the way you're doing things at the moment isn't ultimately working.
Okay.
Often the challenge we have in life is we want things that we genuinely want things to be different. But in the act of doing things differently, we also have to make change. And making that change can be at times uncomfortable, at times it can be triggering. But it's recognizing that the prize of doing that is that things then can be different.
Yeah.
What do you think? What goes through your mind as I say that?
I'm going to say what I always say, sorry. I'll think about it.
When someone is challenging an identity that we have held for many years, we can find ourselves feeling confused. And it takes time to make sense of things possibly being a different way. Part of my job is to apply a certain amount of pressure to those old identities to help drive change, but not so much that it triggers overwhelming defensiveness. Ultimately, therapy should always feel safe, but it isn't always comfortable. I then move the conversation onto emotional styles. This is an exercise that Hayley did as part of her homework to help her identify how she responds to her feelings and emotions.
So as far as I can see, you can probably see a part of me that I can't see, but as far as I can see, my honest answer is that I do feel my emotions. I don't drink or state change or anything like that. I don't blame other people. If I was going to go to any of them, am we along the right lines?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
If it's going to go to any of them, it would be the empathic one. But I do think that I do feel my emotions. Like the one I probably struggle with the most is feeling anger, which I don't feel. I tend to dive straight into the empathy for someone rather than my feeling, probably sometimes rightfully angry. Sometimes I'll just go straight to I'll feel empathy for them instead of anger, so that I can try and understand where they're coming from. And,
How about your emotions around other people? So let's say there's a situation where someone in your life might be saying things that are unkind or kind of critical towards you, and you're feeling perhaps hurt or upset or attacked or judged. In that situation, what will you tend to do with your feelings?
So I'll sort of maybe cry a little bit, and then have a word with myself and say that they're doing that because of what they've been through. And
so you'll empathise.
Yeah, but I will feel the pain that it hurts when they do it, but I will try and understand what's behind them to make them do it. But I will feel it.
Yeah, but it sounds like what you do is you'll go to rationalising away their behaviour to make sense of their behaviour, to, in a sense, rationalise away how you feel. Something in those situations is stopping you from putting in place a boundary.
Okay.
And saying, because your feelings, from what I understand, you are feeling the feelings. So you're feeling hurt or judged or attacked or whatever it may be. And so there's going to be a feeling that wants to have a boundary and say, please stop, or that's not okay, or don't speak to me that way. But what you're doing is you're going to a place of rationalizing of, oh, they did that because of that, or they're having a difficult time, or so you're, in a sense, you're merging to them and rejecting yourself.
Yeah, but I don't want to stand at the grave and if I let them down, like say my parents are old and say if I fall out with them or something, they're not going to be here that much longer anyway. And it's like they can do whatever, and they can treat me however, as long as I don't let them down. Because I got to live with letting them down. That's the problem.
But I think that comes back to the core of the issue here, right? In terms of that place of responsibility, that feeling responsible for them when you're the child and they're the parents.
But are we not always responsible for each other just to help each other along?
I think not. I think we're responsible for behaving in ways that are respectful, but sometimes the most respectful word is no, because it's respecting ourselves as well as respecting other people. And I think what you're doing is you're in situations where you're having to make a choice, and you're disrespecting yourself to act in a way that you believe is respectful towards the other person.
As part of Hayley's homework after the last session, I asked her to watch some modules in my online coaching program, the Reset program. The Reset program is designed to help us reset our nervous system. One of the big impacts of particularly childhood trauma is our nervous system becomes dysregulated. And many of the patterns and the issues we experience are as a result of that overactivation in our system. So the Reset program is specifically designed to teach people practical tools and strategies to reset their system. As part of that, Hayley has been working with a technique I call the stop process. This is about recognizing our particular triggers. Could be external things, it can also be internal thought patterns. Being able to recognize those and to stop, to break the habit and the pattern of thinking that's running, and then to actively shift our nervous system into a calmer and more relaxed place. And if we do that consistently each time that we are triggered, over time, we are actively retraining our system. In a sense, we're breaking the echoes of our childhood trauma consistently playing out in our life. If you want to find out more about the Reset program, you can go to reset.alexhoward.com for a free 3-part video series. So let's now hear how Hayley has been getting on working with the stop process.
So some progress I have made is sometimes when things from different areas have been thrown at me, I've put it down straight away instead of ruminating over it. I've just gone, stop. This isn't my stuff, and put it down. So it is.
Can you give me some examples or so of that?
Just to say something was said unkind to me and I was blamed for something. And I was like just about to get upset, thinking, oh no, I've done this, I've let this person down. And just straight away I thought, that is not about me, that is not my stuff. And I put it down straight away, whereas normally I would have got upset for about a week. Yeah, so I've been able to let go.
And it was a stop process that's helped you do that?
Yeah, I was just about to pick it up, run with it, ruminate over it, cry my eyes out, beat myself up, and I just thought, this is definitely not my stuff, this is not my issues. And so I stopped myself running with it and put it down. And
yeah, that's great. So our goal together is to have that happen more frequently.
Yeah.
What are some possible places that you could do that in the coming weeks? Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, but things that may happen that historically have happened quite regularly that would trigger you and you could respond differently.
Yeah, so like my mum's going in hospital in a couple of weeks. So this is another thing that I've done. Normally I would be in high alert straight away, and I'd be, every time I breathe in and out, I'd be worrying about it. Literally start worrying the minute she got the letter. But I've done the stop thing again and laid it down and said that my brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So there's no point me fretting about this now, because I'm going to be fretting for a month or 2 weeks. So there's no point me fretting about it now, because my worrying about it is not going to affect anything to do with her. It's just going to make me ill. So I've stopped myself worrying about it, so just stay in the moment. So that's another area that it works. I just went stop, because I could have picked it up. Normally I would have made myself ill worrying, but I haven't even thought about it. I've just gone, no. So
that's great. That's great. And when you do the stop, do you find that when you do the mini relaxation in it, that you get a sense of a little bit of a calming of your system? I know that sometimes the more meditative stuff has been a bit tricky for you in the past. I'm wondering how that bit's been. The bit where you sort of take a breath and you come into your body and you feel things settle.
The best bit is to just chuck a few swear words at it. I've got a cathartic little, which I won't say, but that sort of brings humour into it, doesn't it?
Does it begin with F and end with off?
Yeah. It's just,
I find those quite sacred words.
I know, I like them, I have to be raw and honest.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh. I use a sense of humour too.
Me too. It's great.
Coping mechanism, and it works for me, and it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. But then you also get, because again, I want to come back to this point that feeling of safety, what we want to be working towards is you recognize you're running that pattern, you stop, and then your system settles and calms down a little bit.
Okay.
And in the settling and the calming down, you're then coming closer to that felt sense of safety.
Okay.
Because that safety, again, it's not something that is a result of doing this and doing that, and if I get there and I get that. The safety is a result of being calmer and grounded and more settled in yourself.
Okay.
What else is likely to come up that would be a source of anxiety for you?
So there's two more. One is that I feel like I'm, say, letting you guys down.
Okay. So letting me down, letting us down.
Yeah. And then another one sort of is like a massive theme for me, is just like, I feel like anxiety about the future, that just there's no hope.
So nothing's ever going to change. It's always going to be the same.
And just, everybody's going to die, and that my future represents just loss.
Yeah. And then when those people have passed on, you'll have no purpose and no vision and no whatever.
Just the pain and the guilt. I'll just be left with pain and guilt.
Yeah. So how do you feel about using the technique on those patterns?
It's okay with the one with this. I can cope with that. Yeah. The one about the future, that's a really interesting one, because I'm like a little child. I don't do anything. I don't do grown-up stuff, and that you can't exist in this world like that. So for me, that raises red flags. Is there must be some stuff I need to learn for the future. Like, I need to cook my own meals. I'm 52. I need to do online banking. If my husband dies, I don't know where anything is. So there is some grown-up stuff there.
Agreed. So that feels like a step or two further down the path, which we can get to, I think, in the coming weeks. And I think, wouldn't that be a great outcome for the end of our block of sessions together, that you could make perhaps these guys a cup of tea, or you could make a meal for your husband, or you could do some online banking. You could book some theatre tickets, for example, yourself, whatever it may be. How would that feel as a goal to work towards?
Yeah, it feels,
challenging, of course, but it should feel that way, because that's why it's a goal.
Yeah, Yeah, feels challenging. Yeah, I think sort of if I put the grown-up stuff in place and start behaving like an adult instead of a little kid, maybe my future won't look so scary.
Yeah, because that in a sense is I think the challenge, particularly with things like OCD, is that I need to do it this way because if I don't, something terrible's going to happen. But then we get so used to doing it that way. But then the fear is, well, what if I can't do it this way because something happens? But then I can't do that. Then I feel more anxious. Then I feel the need to continue doing it. If you can have a few experiences, like I get back to, because it really struck me, the example you gave of post having the heart attack, you went out and ran the marathons. And that to me was you saying, fuck this, I'm not living like this anymore. And your will for things to be different was greater than your fear of what it would take for that to have happened. So you're a gutsy person. You're someone that has that strength inside of you to do things that are hard to do. This feels like another opportunity in your life to go, my circle of comfort's got so small that I'm not living in the way that I want to be living. I'm not free to live in ways which are easier. And then also there's this constant anticipatory anxiety of what if your husband is, it could be your husband is just unwell for a few weeks and unable, if you could take away that anxiety about the future, that would also give you back a chunk of energy for the now as well.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. I'm curious as to what's happening for you.
Sorry.
Don't apologise. I'm curious.
It's just nobody ever said that before. Everybody else just said, well, you stupid idiot for doing that. And you're the only person that said you were gutsy. Everyone else just said I was stupid. Sorry. Thank you.
That's what I think. I think you're gutsy.
Everyone else said I was stupid.
What do you think?
Nobody ever said that before. I think I was stupid, but thank you for saying I was gutsy. Yeah, I know why I did it, and thank you for knowing why I did it, but nobody else kind of understood. Yeah.
I'm interested because it's quite interesting because I know that you respect me, and I know that you respect my kind of skills to sort of read and sort of to understand someone. So when I'm telling you that what I see is a gutsy woman sitting opposite me, and yet you've been told all these other things in the past, I'm interested as to how that is for you.
Yeah, I think that's because you're nice. So it says more about you than it does about me, that you see the best in people.
See, my job is to see the best in people, but my job is also to address the worst in people. Because if we don't do that, we're not dealing with the real issues. So what I don't do is sit and just go say nice things to people. Because if I was doing that, I wouldn't be doing my job. People don't come and do this to be made to feel better by someone saying nice things. People come because they want things to change. And we can't change unless we're talking about what's really going on. If what I saw was the place in you, like I've said already quite a few things to you that have been quite challenging to hear, right? Some good and some challenging. Like I've been challenging you around taking responsibility for other people in a way that I think is not helpful and healthy for you. So it's important that you understand that as much as I think I'm a nice person and I care about people and I do see the best in people, I don't only see the best in people, but part of my job is to point out what I see. And if I didn't see it, I wouldn't say it.
So I have to change the way I view myself then.
Because the goal of this work that you and I are doing together is not what I think ultimately isn't important. What's important is what you think. And our job together is to help you see yourself as objectively and as accurately as possible. Yeah. It's not about you seeing yourself better than you are. It's not about inflating your ego. That's called being arrogant or being narcissistic. That's not our objective. Our objective is to help you see things as accurately as you can.
Mm-hmm.
How does that sound?
Yeah. I think a lot of the OCD behaviours is because I think that I'm not capable of getting anything right the first time, which is why I repeat them. So if I started to consider myself as not as rubbish as I do consider myself, it might mean that I was capable of locking a door once instead of 25 times, because I repeat stuff because I think that I'm not good enough to get it right the first time. So if you reframe how I see myself, I might have to entertain the idea that I could do something once and get it right.
Yeah.
Instead of...
And what do you think about that?
I've read every book there is on OCD. I've done the massive...
You know it up
I
here.
know it all. I've taken part in all the research. I've worked with some of the top guys of those. I know it all in my head. Yay!
Yeah, but that doesn't change anything.
No.
What changes it is changing what you do in your behaviour.
Yeah, sure. When I first came here, the best bit that worked for me was that you were going, for me, you got to go underneath what's driving the OCD behaviour. And for me, the best bit of this was that you were going underneath what's driving this behaviour, because a lot of CBT just has a hierarchy and you reduce it and it's all this blah, 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 and it doesn't work. It's a sticking plaster. But what I like about this is you're going right into what is driving this, what is the self-schema about this person that is driving this behaviour. And that intellectual and that emotional discovery really works for me. Yeah. So it all makes sense, and I'm not side brushing.
No, I don't think you are. Yeah. Well, and also what we're doing is we're working at it on multiple levels, right? So we're working on what I call a psychoeducational level, like we're talking about it and we're making sense of it. We're then working at it on a behavioral level. So there's a habit which has wired your brain for neuroplasticity.
Yep, got it.
So the stop is breaking that.
Yeah.
We're then working at it on an emotional level because we're looking at what are the feelings that are driving these habits and behaviors. We're then looking at it on a trauma level of what's the shift that's happened in your nervous system, your homeostatic balance in response that you're trying to manage and address by using these habits and behaviors.
Yeah.
So each of those pieces is really important in terms of the resolution here. But the thing that's most important between today and next week is yes, going away and thinking about it is part of it. But it's actually really using the stop process, be it the first version in Module 4 or the presence process in Module 5, and both are really helpful, but really starting to change the habits and the behaviors. You don't need to get it perfect. I'd like to take one day off between now and next week. You don't need to catch it every time. It doesn't need to work every time. But overall, it's a cumulative effect of that calming and settling of your system. If your system is calmer, the compulsion towards the OCD behaviors is less. Yeah?
I'm very impressed with myself because I kept up with all of that. And it
very good.
Level. I did. I kept up on you exactly what you meant. I was very impressed with myself.
How does it feel to give yourself a compliment?
It was quite nice because, like, I've just pictured my husband, because I'll say something and he'll go, what? But I was like, you obviously educate now, thinking, I know what he means. Yeah. Sorry, I'm being arrogant now.
No, I'm pleased.
Yeah, I get it.
Do you have any questions?
No, I get it. I get it.
Good. Lots of practice between now and next time, and some time out. Go gently, and we'll get more into it next week.
Thank you.
Will do. Thank you, Hayley.
Thank you.
So much of our energy in life can go into how other people think of us. But the truth is, we don't know what they are really thinking. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. What matters is what we think of ourselves. And this is a key focus of my work with Hayley, to help cultivate an accurate and loving self-image. To help support you in coming on the journey with us, I've created some materials to accompany the series. Each week, there is a bonus video with me and a worksheet to bring the session to life for you. In this week's reflections, you can explore your self-image and whether it is supporting or hindering you in your life. You can find these resources for free at intherapy.alexhoward.com. Here is what is coming up next week.
When you're running those obsessive compulsive patterns, worrying about the future and planning different scenarios, well, if this happens, I'll do that, you are activating your nervous system. So in your attempt to get to a feeling of safety, the very action of what you're doing to get there is taking you away from it.
It's going to take some work. It's really entrenched.